Welcome back, everyone. Today we are over here at Islands of Adventure, continuing our series as we prepare for Epic Universe. Now again, we are going to Epic Universe in just a few days, so we are trying to crank out all of these videos. Now if you have been here for all of them and you continue to watch them, I really do appreciate it. Now I know it is a little different as we are kind of just continuously rolling them out. I was hoping to get a little bit more of a gap in between, but I do want to get them all out before we go to Epic Universe. Now today we are covering the Ministry of Magic. Now this is going to be an interesting world in general, as it does have some of the kind of like most anticipated shows and rides inside of the entire park. But again, there's not the same amount of offerings, in my opinion, as some of the other lands. So we're gonna have to kind of do a little bit of a deep dive here, see what's going on over there, and then again, give you our ranking here for our top 5 most anticipated list. We also are recording our other video today, which will be for Dark Universe. So if you notice that I'm wearing kind of the same thing in the next video, that's kind of why. I do not have Nicole with me here today, so we're not gonna have her top 5, unfortunately. But you can see not a cloud in the sky right now. Beautiful, beautiful skies today. It is only a matter of time until they swap that to 4 parks, 4 times the awesome. I'm sure it will be happening maybe May 22nd, maybe the day of. They will swap it over. Take a look at these lines to get in. Very, very busy this entire weekend right now. Again, I think it is spring break, but pretty crazy. We are all checked in. Did take us a little bit there. Again, very, very busy once again today. But our adventure does begin here inside of Port of Entry as we are heading back towards Hogsmeade. That is where we are heading right now. Briefly, I do want to point out some of the merch here inside of Islands of Adventure for the Ministry of Magic. As you can see, some of the items here. I do think there was maybe a little bit more inside of the preview center, except I don't know if I recall seeing this hoodie here before. I do recognize the other pieces of merchandise. Looks like we have another small one over here with some stuff. Also, if you guys are looking for the new robes and stuff, over at Terra Luna, I know for sure they had them over there. I don't see any of the new robes here, but this does look to be kind of the generic merch for Ministry. On the other side, I think this is all stuff that we've had for quite a while now. Every time I see these stages, I always wonder what it was like when they did HHN over here in Islands. Again, that was before I was coming to the event, but I feel like it would have been awesome to experience just doing an HHN over here. I know it wasn't, I think, the most popular, but I think it would have been fun. Definitely would have been fun. Now, I don't think today is going to be the longest of videos because, again, when it does come to the Ministry of Magic, it is definitely one of the areas with not as much to do as far as what's listed in the app. And that is kind of what we are covering here, because it doesn't really cover like the spells. So I think that is something you kind of have to keep in mind, is like, I think the spells is kind of a big portion of these lands between Hogsmeade and Diagon Alley. So let's just talk about the one attraction that is in this land, and that is Battle at the Ministry. Now this ride in general is a little bit of a concern for me. I know that from team member previews, they haven't really been able to ride it, not at the capacity that we were hoping. It does seem like it's been down for a few months. However, during media, they did have it up and running, and since then it has been kind of on and off. So we are keeping an eye on it right now. I am hoping for our previews here coming up this week that it is open. Now we did see that they are doing a virtual queue system for Battle at the Ministry, which I am a little nervous about because I just don't like the virtual queue system. You guys know how I felt about it over at Disney, and we have been seeing it pop up. Doesn't mean it's gonna be a permanent thing. Doesn't mean it's even gonna be there for opening day. It could honestly be gone by the time we do our previews, but it is something that we are a little concerned about right now because virtual queue, right? We've talked about it. It's just something that we don't like to experience, and we'll keep an eye on it moving forward. But as of now, that is a little bit of a concern for me. We did see that they have a few different drops for it, so I'm guessing you're gonna get a callback time, and based on how the ride is operating for the day, could determine how it ultimately kind of uses that virtual queue. So we'll keep an eye on it. We'll let you guys know if we end up having to use it during our previews or not, but I have been seeing some photos now pop up of people posting it for their team member previews, which again, team member previews are ending here in just a few days as well. As far as the actual attraction itself goes, it does seem to be quite a hit. People are loving it from the initial reviews. Again, I state spoiler free, but it does seem to be quite a unique attraction compared to what else we have had inside of the park. So I am looking forward to finally being able to experience it. Hopefully, again, it is up and running. But again, that consistency is always something that makes you a little bit nervous about how it's going to operate when the park is opening in just a little over a month now at this point. I mean, you can see how busy it is here right now, but even with the crowds, I think I'm a little surprised that Hagrid's is only 85 minutes at the moment. I'm expecting that to probably bump up, but 85 isn't horrible for the crowds that I've been seeing recently. I'm also very upset I forgot my wand today, which I was really hoping to make part of the video, considering, I don't know, kind of was on theme, on brand here. But let's just talk about the other kind of single offering, which would be the show, which would be Lyserg Arcanu. And that is kind of the only other thing that I would say is kind of like the big attraction piece here outside of the spells that is listed in the app. The other two things, obviously, we're gonna have shopping and food. But when it comes to things that are gonna like take the crowds away, I think these are two that kind of do that outside of the spells. And I'm hearing really good things about this show. I've been hearing it's pretty on par with Untrainable. Some people like this one more than Untrainable, so I think these are gonna be two really high quality shows. We need to try and navigate through these crowds right now. I wanna go sit in front of the castle for a minute. These are some of the other things that I'm wondering, are they gonna have a lot of these like stage shows that kind of just exist around? You know, this isn't necessarily in the app the same way, at least for now. Maybe that changes in time.
Lesson for everyone. You don't bow to a hippogriff, they will attack. So just, this is a lesson to learn for everyone here. All right, next time you got to bow, can I see the technique of a bow to a hippogriff? See, that's probably where you did it wrong. Here, I'll show you.
Look at this too, Forbidden Journey is only 35 minutes as well. So again, with these crazy crowds, not the craziest of lines. Flight of the Hippogriff, however, is 60 minutes, so a little bit more of a wait over here. Now here's the thing, as we are looking at the Hogwarts Castle here, I am not going to try and pronounce all of these names and embarrass myself between the shopping and dining. So now what I'm going to do is, on the screen, I will go ahead and list all of the dining options that are available, and we'll talk a little bit about them. But yeah, I don't want to butcher it. I've already butchered it one time. Now I do believe that Bar Moonshine, and what I'm assuming is a translation from like French to English, would be Butterbeer Cart, is kind of what it looks like in there. I think those two will have a lot of butterbeer offerings and some kind of unique drinks, kind of similar to what you have inside of Diagon Alley and Hogsmeade. And then the two other options between the cafe and then I think it's the Goblet Noir. Again, that one doesn't seem horrible. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly. I think those might be kind of your typical eating areas that you might find, again, in Diagon Alley and Hogsmeade that we already have. So I think that's where you might find a little bit more food-oriented options. But yeah, either way, those are your dining options that you will have available over at the Ministry of Magic. And what's kind of unique, again, they do have this French kind of, I don't know, flair to everything. I don't think they're going to be doing that for things like butterbeer and whatnot, but I do think between the food items, we'll see a little bit more of that. Similarly to the restaurants and food options, the shops are pretty much the same. Very hard to pronounce, so what I'm going to do is we are going to go check out some shops here inside of Hogsmeade. I will go ahead and insert right now some fun shops that are available for shopping there. Let's come over here to do some shopping. Let's go see if there's anything fun and new inside. It'll be interesting if they brought anything from the Ministry of Magic over here. I know they like to keep things pretty much like cohesive to the story and I think like where they are at. But you never know. Let's see. Here we have some robes. I don't think these are the new ones though. I think the new ones have more of the color forward versus kind of like the dark black forward with kind of the touches. I think the other one has a lot more of the actual coloring there. So yeah, I don't think you can get those robes specifically over here from what I am seeing. I didn't even realize that you could buy these flags up here. They were kind of like hanging there. I thought it was just all part of the decoration as a kind of just like, you know, very cohesive here. I like it. Oh, is this the cup? Wow. I didn't realize that. A frozen butterbeer sounds amazing right now, I'm not gonna lie, but I always feel bad getting it without Nicole, so I think I'm gonna wait for now.
Yeah.
But yeah, they are tempting. And the lines actually aren't too bad for the butterbeer either. I do want to come over here. I am still looking to see if they sell the French chocolate frogs in any of the stores. And I don't think it's literally any different. It just has like the French spelling on there. I don't think they do. I mean, it makes sense, right? Like, why would you have the French ones here I don't know. I figured I'd at least come check and see if they were around here somewhere. Well, no dice. I've seen a lot of chocolate frogs on display, but none of the French ones. All right, I think at this point now we need to go find a spot so we can do some rankings for my most anticipated going into the Ministry of Magic. So let's head over this direction, see if we can find kind of a quiet place. Well, let's just go ahead and start this list. Again, I told you this one was going to be a little bit shorter in general because, again, there's not a ton for me to rank, but I will just put at number 5, it would just be, I think, the shops. I think it'll be cool. I always like going inside of the shops at both Hogsmeade and Diagon Alley. I do think Diagon Alley is probably a little bit more entertaining because you kind of have some of like the more like fun kind of weird shops there versus here I know that you kind of have, you know, the wands, you got more kind of like the goodies and stuff over here, but I do think over in Diagon Alley I like all the kind of variety over there. There's kind of like some fun stuff, you know, same thing over inside of Nocturne Alley. So I'm interested to see what they do with the shops over there. I still need to watch Fantastic Beasts because I haven't seen that. I know all of the original kind of films, but I am not caught up on Fantastic Beasts. So I think I'm gonna have some homework to do this week before, again, we go. I wasn't expecting to be going this early. So I'm a little just like, you know, disheveled at this point. But either way, yeah, I think my 5 spot would just be the shopping in general. As we're walking kind of through this strip of food options here inside of the Lost Continent, I would have to say my number 4 would be the food. I think I'm not a huge fan of French cuisine in general. I like some of it, but I think they're gonna do a really good job kind of making it theme park accessible and not just totally like, you know what, if you like French food, then great. If not, then you're gonna dislike everything. I'm assuming they're gonna make it a little bit more, I don't want to say palatable because like that makes it seem like it's bad, but more open to people. That would be my assumption. I think they'll have some really hardcore French dishes and then they'll kind of have like a little taste of French cuisine. Also, we have Julian out here, King Julian. Oh, he doesn't have the squirrels with him today though. But I guess next to food, if we kind of just quickly went to the next, my number 3 would be just casting spells. And I feel like a lot of people are probably gonna have a similar list for this land in particular, just because, again, the way that it is lined up. But I think the spells is going to be a lot of fun. I've become a lot more addicted to casting spells over here inside of the Wizarding World parks over at Islands of Adventure and Universal Studios. So it only kind of makes sense that I'm ultimately going to want to cast some spells over at the Ministry of Magic. And the biggest thing too, I feel like the new spells that have been implemented here at Islands and over at Universal Studios have been really interactive. I really like the way that they're done. And so if we're kind of going down that same path where the interactivity and it's more like game-like, I think it's gonna be a pretty big hit and I can see myself spending a lot of time there. So I'm going to come finish up my last 2 items on my list down here. I kind of talk about how a lot of times this is my place to go to kind of get away from the crowds, but I think there's people down here right now. Everybody knows the super secret spot. Yeah, we have people over on the bridge. Let's see if we can go around the corner. Yeah, look at this. Everybody knows the secrets. All right, well, it's still one of my favorite views in the entire park to be able to see the Hulk over there with Dr. Doom. And then you also have Velocicoaster right next to us. You know I'm always over here. What better place to finish this video talking about rides and shows than right over here. There it goes again. I feel like I need to go ride it. However, we do need to finish up this video, which means we need to talk about our final 2, and that is either between Le Cirque Arcanu and the Battle at the Ministry. Now, I don't think it's any surprise to you guys since I have been talking about Battle at the Ministry potentially being the best ride at Epic, and I was talking about this months ago before like previews even started. I was like, there could be a chance that this ride is a sleeper hit. I think a lot of people were looking at Stardust and Monsters Unchained, that they were kind of putting this one a little bit off the side. They were like, those 2 rides just look too good. And I was like, be careful. I think that Battle at the Ministry could potentially be the top runner at the entire park. And that is why it is number 1, and number 2 would be Le Cirque Arcanu as my second option. And I just think between the 2 of them, I do think that Battle will take the cake between every offering there at the Ministry of Magic. I think it's going to be a fantastic ride. And like I said, I just hope the consistencies of that ride do come through, because I think, again, if it does perform and it is a good ride, I could see it being even busier than Hagrid's. But we do know that Hagrid's has had some issues in the past, and they did finally start to get things figured out, but it did take a little bit of time. So we'll have to see if that's the same thing that happens with Battle at the Ministry. Is it going to take a little bit of time before it becomes consistent? I don't know. There's a lot of technical things going on in there. So I don't know. Anytime you have a brand new park, new technology, things like that, it's always kind of a risk, and hopefully it ends up paying off. So I am hopeful for that. But yeah, my number 2 then would be Le Cirque Arc-New, the show, which I still think is going to be fantastic. Everything I've heard about it has been phenomenal. So I think at this point, I'm just looking forward to both that and Untrainable almost equally at this point. I do think I have a slight edge to Untrainable just because I'm a lot more invested in How to Train Your Dragon, but I keep just hearing nonstop fantastic things about Le Cirque Arc-New, and I just think with the way that it's done and not necessarily being kind of, I don't want to say a repeat, because a lot of people are saying Untrainable is pretty close to the one that they already have overseas, but there are some differences. So we kind of already have a little bit of an idea what could be in that show, where over at the Ministry of Magic, I think that being completely new kind of makes it a new experience that we have no idea. And I think that kind of also gives it a slight edge in some regards between the shows. I don't know, I think both of them are going to be fantastic, but yeah, I'm actually looking a lot more forward to the Ministry of Magic as I've been making this video. I'm like, actually, there's a lot of fun things I'm kind of looking forward to at this point, so hopefully it does end up delivering. I think that is one ride that we want to get on nice and early would be Battle at the Ministry, because I am just a little concerned that it might not be up all day, so it's probably going to be our rope drop strategy. We'll see. I don't know. Obviously, we have a few days to kind of plan things out, but we'll see. Hopefully, again, if everything's going well. If there's a virtual line, then it's a different story, and we kind of have to play the field a little bit differently when we're going in. But hopefully, it's at least up and running. That's all I care about. If we could just get on it, that's all I care about. Don't care if I got to wait forever for it. I just want to make sure that we can do all the rides, All that being said, though, we are getting out of here as we wave goodbye to all of the coasters out here. I can hear the Raptors roaring. I can see Dr. Doom's launching. I can hear Hulk going. Now, if you guys did have fun hanging out with me here today at Islands of Adventure, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up. It helps out a ton. Let me know in the comments below. What are you guys feeling when it comes to the Ministry of Magic? You guys looking forward to Battle at the Ministry? Are you looking forward to some of the French cuisine? I don't know, a lot of fun offerings here. Like I said, after making this video and I'm doing it, I'm getting more and more interested in the world in general. I already was really looking forward to the show and to the ride, but as I kind of was doing a little bit more research, I was like, oh, some of the food does look pretty good, and some of the shopping options I think could actually be a lot of fun. So yeah, I don't know. I just think talking about it sometimes really elevates kind of like your interest level for it. So I am looking forward to seeing what goes on in there. I don't know how it's going to fare against things like Diagon Alley and Hogsmeade. I kind of am interested to see what ends up happening with that, because obviously there's so much attachment between those two areas, where when it comes to the actual Ministry, obviously we have kind of that side of things once you get that far into the books and things. But I am kind of curious to see how much people put that at the top of the list compared to Hogsmeade and Diagon Alley, because I feel like those two kind of compete. People love one versus the other. Now you're adding a third area into the Wizarding World. I wonder if that is going to now rise to the top, or kind of where it fares between those other two. It'll be interesting. Either way, if you guys do want to see more Epic Universe content, make sure to subscribe to the channel. And thank you guys for hanging out with me today. But more importantly, thank you so much for being here.